welcome to Season 2 of Slack Chat. I'm Stuart Winter, the platform architect of the Slackware ARM port, and we have Phil. Hi, Phil.
Hello, Stuart.
How are you?
Very well, thank you. How's yourself?
I'm pretty good, thank you. I've got a few things to do this evening, the first of which is set off the updates for Slackware ARM current and 14.2 release. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be doing what I call merge porn. So we're going to see some merging of packages and text files. It's going to be absolutely delicious. So I hope you're looking forward to that, Phil.
Very much so.
Let's go. So the first thing we're going to do is start off merging in the updates for current, and then I'm going to switch into building the package for 14.2. To begin with, I'm going to show you the changelog. Now, this has been, I think, maybe 5 or so days since I pushed out what was called Big Merge, where it included the KDE 5 upgrade and the latest XFCE, hundreds of other packages in the operating system. So what I tend to do is with large updates like that is I push them out and then leave it for 3 or 4 days to see if there's any feedback from the community, because if there are any problems with it, I can go in and address those directly and then rebuild them and push them out. Whereas if I start merging in all of these changes that you see in the changelog, we're talking hundreds of packages again. Once I've committed to that, it's not impossible, but it would be a lot of work to go in and try and isolate one package and fix it before all of the others have finished building. So I give it a bit of grace period, really, just to sort of let things settle down and go and quickly fix things. And as it happens, if we scroll down all the way through these updates, you'll see that actually happened. As you can see here, so I had to rebuild Qt. So thanks to Andy25225 for the reports that I'd missed out the shell profile scripts because I'd made an error when I did the build script merge. So I fixed that and pushed those out. Paging through the updates here, so you see I've got all of the latest updates as of the present day that we need to process, the majority of which are KDE. There's a lot of movement on KDE at the moment. I haven't had it where KDE has been upgraded so frequently before. And because I've left it a few days, I've actually got 2 different batches of KDE from x86 to build. The first thing I need to do is make sure that there aren't any duplicates in there. Now, it's not a particular concern if there are duplicate packages. Generally, it just means that they get rebuilt more than once, which they do anyway, because my KDE build script builds everything 3 times. So I'm not particularly concerned that something gets rebuilt once. It just means it exercises the machine a bit more. However, what it does do is slow down the build process. So I don't particularly want to rebuild things more than they really need to be rebuilt. The main concern, though, is actually to do with if packages have been upgraded, it's fine. They can be just rebuilt as many times. But if the package has been rebuilt, then the build number could be incremented more than it should be. It doesn't really bother me that much, but I'd rather that it didn't. So what I've got here is I've just got a little script that checks whether there are any duplicates in the changelog that you just saw me going through. I need to build into the helper tools or into the build system to automatically deduplicate the list. I just haven't done it yet. I wrote this code to do it instead. I did actually open up the build system script, this little helper script that you see, the RTB helper that plugs into the build system. It acts as a call out script. I did look at that and thought, I'll just add it in there. And then I realized that that was going to be more difficult than a 5-minute job. So I just wrote some external tool instead. So it just passes the changelog between the update SUD markers, which stands for Slack build updater. So it passes all of the KDE packages and then just deduplicates it. Or rather, it shows me if there are any duplicates, which there aren't. So what we're going to do is I'm going to run my update tool and it's going to process all of those updates. I've already synchronized the x86 tree locally, so I have everything. Remember in the previous episodes, the Slackware ARM build system is an overlay to the x86. So I do need the ARM tree and I need the x86 tree. So I've already done that. I'm going to run the update tool now, and it'll start processing that batch that you've seen. So here there's nothing to do. It's automatically changing the version number. In this case, I don't have any of this code in the Slackware ARM build script, so I can just ignore it. Again, there's nothing to do there. Kernel firmware, that's fine. Oh, as you can see on the screen, the build system also detects whether there are any duplicate packages and it just skips them. It doesn't try to process them twice. Now this one here is something that I actually need to address. So I've got to change a configuration option here. I need to add this one in. The way that I do this is using a tool called S02E08, which I wrote for managing the KDE and XFCE big merge updates. So I run S02E08 on the same build machine that's currently processing the updates with the sud tool. Sorry, with the sud command. So I've got a command called sud_tool and I've got one called sud. I'll show you what it does. So I run it once, I run it twice. What you see here is the original x86 build script. You see underneath it the Slackware ARM build script. And the reason why I do that is so that I can more easily merge the updates in. So I know that I've got one update to make. This one here. Okay, so just literally copy paste that from there in there. Done. Go back here. That's the only change I needed to make. Press Q, and then it's going to show me a diff of what's changed. So the version number has changed, and you can see that the update is now there. You can see that additional config option. So the build script is done. Q. Pretty much everything else I think is going to be reasonably straightforward. I think there might be another few that I need to change. For those of you who are listening on audio only, we're currently processing the build batch. There's a few hundred packages in there, I think, that I need to process, most of which are KDE. So the build system's processing this at the moment. You see here on the screen as well, it's scrolled off now, but there was an error there telling me that MCE log was missing. There was no binary package. That's okay because it's not built for ARM. I need to update this script to filter out any packages that are deliberately excluded for ARM. I do have a list of them in the source tree, but I just haven't coded that in yet because it's not that, because pretty much all of the packages are built on Slackware ARM. I don't really have so many that I have to clean up manually. As you can see, pretty much there is nothing really for me to do. I just keep pressing Q. I visually eyeball the changes. Got a few duplicates again. Sudo's duplicated because that's been updated twice since I pushed out the public updates. So, oh, you can see as well, autoconf got rebuilt. So Patrick pushed out an updated version of autoconf for x86. I didn't get around to processing it yet, but he's pushed it out again with some fixes to it. And my build system has realized we never had the first build of that version. So the package on ARM isn't going to be a rebuild, it's going to be an actual upgrade. So this tool switches any rebuild packages to upgrades if that's what they actually are on the ARM side, if that makes sense. Okay, so there's also a change to Emacs. So I'm going to use S02E08 again, like this. And this time you can see that, again, it's loaded up the x86 Emacs build scripts. And I'm just going to go and add in. Okay, so I just need to find where to put it. So that goes here. And there you go. There's the change. Okay, at this point, it's going to start processing the KDE packages. There are quite a few of those, so that's going to take a few minutes while it processes those. I don't have to do anything manually for that. All it's doing is marking them as KDE packages in the changelog, which also functions as the build list. At this point, what I'm going to do is switch over to building an update for 14.2. As you can see, I've got actually two updates for sudo because I didn't get around yet to building the first one. So there was a security update for sudo, and then quickly afterwards, it was identified by the developers that this had introduced a regression, so they basically broken it. So I never got around to building the first package. So what I'm going to do is just build the latest version, and I'm going to remove the updated text because really this package is to fix a security incident. Even though the version I will push out is not 1.9.5, I think it's patch level 1, I'm going to push out the latest version, but I'm going to keep the fact that it's a security update and just keep the blurb in there because that's really what this update is about. I don't see the need to call out the fact that it's also fixing a regression. That's just one of the things that I change here. So we're going to go in here and 14.2 patches source sudo like that and run differ, which this script compares the original Slackware build script, the one I keep here, to the version in the Slackware 64 14.2 tree. Usually there aren't any changes to these because most of these scripts, they automatically detect the version and the build number. When the version increases, the build number is reset to 1. Usually the only changes to these build scripts are just changing the version number or the build. But in this case, as you can see, there are no changes here. The only thing I do need to do, though, is change the version of the actual package. So this script here, the SV, shows me what the version numbers and the names are of the Slackware 64 tree. So that just helps me identify quickly what the version numbers are of those packages. So it's 1.9.5 P1. So I'm just going to take that and paste that. So there we go. So I've changed the version number in the arm/build script, and this is already ready to build for the packages directory. And so what I need to do here is I'll run this on the screen like this, and then run dbuild, and that will build the package for 14.2. As it happens, I don't have a distributed build system for 14.2, so it's actually only going to build it natively. At some point I might change that, but generally for the released versions of Slackware ARM I only build natively because there aren't really that many updates. So it doesn't usually take that long. I don't think sudo takes too long to build either. So KDE now has been processed, so that didn't really take too long, and there's a few extra packages to do, like this one. So we'll just quickly make our way through the rest of these for current, like this. I think we're almost done now. Often what happens here is that sometimes the package source name changes, or the compression type used on the archive has changed. Oh, this one has moved to CMake. I might do that now, actually. It's not that difficult. So let me do that. Okay, so let's go into subtool. Let's have a look what's in the x86 build script. So yeah, so I need to change this from, I think, an autoconf script into a CMake build system. Oh, wow, look at this. Ay, 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 look at these hacks. These dirty hacks I've got in here. So I've got a few hacks here to make this build on Slackware ARM. So I either comment them out or just keep them in case there's something broken later on. But to begin with, I'm just going to go with what's in the standard Slackware build system for now. And if it doesn't build, then I'll fix it later. So I'm going to take that bit of script code there and paste this in here. I'm going to change a couple of things here. My personal style is that I like to use the bash built-ins. There's no particularly good reason why, I just like it. So I'm going to switch CD for pushd and popd and change the indentation as well, because I prefer this particular style of indentation. And I'm also going to change these exit ones as well to the SlackKit library has a number of functions in there, like fail config, fail make, rather than exit one. The reason for that is because it logs some additional stuff, or it was also a way of capturing when certain points in the build system failed. So for example, if it fails during config, I could just edit the SlackKit function so that it logged it somewhere in particular, which is a lot easier to do. So basically the script, it does essentially what would be a ./configure, but using CMake instead. If it fails, then it calls this function, does something, and then it exits as well. So it's just a nice way of trapping failures and doing something different with them if I want to. I don't want to in this case. All right, that looks pretty good to me. And hopefully that doesn't need any of those hacks that I put in for ARM. That looks all the same. Oh yeah, apart from that, that needs a popd so it returns backwards. Okay, and I'm just going to clean up some mess from some automated work I did earlier where it didn't quite get my sed command working. There are a few other changes popping up on the screen that I didn't make, and that's because the build system is also making dynamically changes for AArch64 as well to get them ready for that. So there's a few other things you're seeing in there that are nothing to do with the updates. You know, I've realized, Phil, what I need to do here is add in a bit of text that tells me exactly what's remaining, what percentage have I done, which package am I at in the list. That'd be quite nice.
Yeah, or else you're always remembering which one it is.
Oh no, it's more that I just know how much there is left to go. You'll see Mozilla Thunderbird has flashed by saying that there is no ARM package. Yeah, I know about that. There isn't going to be one unless I can get it working again. Oh, there we go. And you can see at the bottom, so it's detected that more than one package or one or more package is present within the mini root. So it's added a call out into the build list to rebuild that mini root when everything is built. Now you can see here that there's a little message at the top telling me that it's found that the version of tar, the actual ARM binary package version, is not the same version as what's in the actual build script itself. That's okay because I did that manually outside the build system. I was messing around with tar. So tar is all ready to go. And you can see that most of these are KDE. So I'm just scrolling through the list here, and it's going to show me as well that there's a missing package for MCE log. So I need to remove that from the build list, and the same with Thunderbird. So I'm just going to quickly remove those. I need to make a change to the build system to mask this stuff out. Once it starts bothering me, I'll actually do that, I think. So I'll snip those out. Okay, AAA LFlib also needs rebuilding, but that's going to be done outside of the build system because that still needs a little bit of automated work. But basically you can see here, so I've run SUD, it's taken away the SUD markers, it's replaced them with the R2B markers, which is for the R2B build tool. At the top of here, you've got an instruction to that tool to call the mini root build script once everything builds. Rather, I should say once everything builds successfully. And then everything that was KDE has been marked as a KDE module, and it will be skipped by R2B, and it'll be handled by the R2B callout function. So there's a separate script that builds KDE. So that's all, because it's basically because the logic of building KDE is more complicated than I wanted in the main build, in the main R2B script. So it's all farmed out. It's a lot easier to manage that way. So there's lots of those, and everything else looks good. Hopefully it won't find any errors here, but that's what it does. It also runs the differ scripts again that you saw me running for 14.2. By the way, what you saw me doing for 14.2 is the manual work I do actually do for 14.2, because I haven't automated any of the building of patches yet. It's, as I said, it's not really, there aren't that many of them that it's sufficiently bothered me enough to do. So all of the 14.2 or any stable release is all done manually. But that process is what I had to do for current as well before I automated it. So as you can see, it's found an error here. I don't know why, because I thought we'd got rid of that. Was that because it was duplicated? Ah, yeah, that was one of the duplicates, right. So let's do that again. And this time that will process all of those, and it should start them building. So the build system is just, again, processing everything to make sure that it's all good, making sure that the version numbers match, making sure there aren't any missing changes that I didn't put into the scripts. There we go. So it tells me that it's going to build KDE modules on the final pass. I only build KDE once. I don't rebuild that on every pass because there's no need. As it says on the screen, it will build the mini root file system if everything built. So now it's off building the first package. Let's see how 14.2 is getting on building sudo. That's still building it. All right, so that's us merge those updates in. Sudo probably takes, I think it takes less than an hour to build on 14.2 natively. I really can't remember. But I'll go and pick that up later on and merge that in as I showed you in one of the previous episodes. The updates for current, I don't know how long they're going to take. There's quite a lot of KDE in there, so that might take a day or so to build. But those will get pushed out once I've reinstalled the machine again. I've also got a kernel upgrade to do because one of the sound modules went missing on the Banana Pi when I did the upgrade. So I need to have a look into that because it shouldn't have done. But yeah, so I'll be pushing those updates out once I've reinstalled the test machine and retested KDE. Have you got any questions, Phil? Let me know and we can do those. If
not any questions. It's just amazing the amount of work that goes into doing what you do, and it appears to me that the tools that you've constructed to make things easier and facilitate the merging is quite incredible. certainly without all that work and effort, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. It really is intricate in places and simplified in others. It's a real eye opener to see how much work you actually put into maintaining the operating system.
Thanks, Phil. Yeah, there is a lot of work that goes into it. I mean, that's why originally, back in the day, I had to stop doing the port, because you can see, imagine doing all of that manually.
Yeah.
Right. That's what, and I had to do everything that I've shown you for 14.2 manually for current. And, that's just, I mean, how long did I mean, we've been going now for what, almost half an hour. Well, maybe when we edit it down, it won't be, but, you can, yeah, there is a lot of work involved in this.
Yeah.
So, all right. That concludes this episode. Remember to like and subscribe. And if you've got any ideas or suggestions or comments, you can use the comments in YouTube and let us know. And when you find yourself liking Slackware ARM, you can go to arm.slackware.com/sponsor, and you'll find the options to help financially with the project, either one-off with PayPal, or you can do a monthly recurring donation using Patreon. So that's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
We sound like Have I Got News for You, don't we?
The two Ronnies.
I haven't seen the two Ronnies for years.
Yeah.
Aye. All right. Cheers, guys. Take care. Bye.